Hello everyone, my name is Roger Stromkowski and I'm a solutions engineer here at SnapLogic. Today I want to talk to you about using SnapLogic to detect schema changes. For the purpose of this demonstration and video, I will be using a SQL Server, but you could take this same two pipelines that we're going to work with today and you could use them to detect schema for anything else that you can either output the schema for or describe. Okay? So the first pipeline is very simple. The first pipeline is basically going to be to capture your original description of your database table or your metadata for whatever it is, and we're going to store that. Now in my case, I'm storing it in a file. You could date stamp the file, you could call it original, you could send it to an SFTP server, you could put this in a database. However you're doing it, the core purpose here is that you just need to capture that data. Now the second pipeline, and where we're going to spend most of our time talking today, is the real workhorse of this solution. Now, I'm going to sort of jump right into the middle here. So the Diffs Snap is the key piece that we're going to be using. So when we're using the Diffs Snap, we have two branches that come into it. So this is the original. This is basically reading the file that we created in the first one, or the database table, or whatever it may be. And then the upper branch is going to read the current schema or described table statement, whatever it might be. Now to get the schema out of a SQL Server snap, when we come in here and we go to views, you'll see that our output shows that there's a minimum of 1. So it normally has just the one output, and that would be for your data. But you can always expose the second, and that would allow you to have the schema be exposed as well. So that's what we're using here. Now when we do that on a SQL Server, just to take a look and see what it is, this is what we're going to see is quite a bit of information about the version, the production version, primary key columns, and this is really what I'm going to be using to do my testing. But if we come down, there's even more data at the bottom for metadata. So you have quite a bit of information here that you could use. All right. Now the very first thing I want to do, and the snaps are basically mirrored for the two branches to clean up the data since we're getting the schema in the same way. So the first thing we're doing is we're going to just take that columns out by doing columns values. All right, once we do that, the next thing to do is use a JSON splitter, and we're just going to split that. That way, each column becomes its own JSON document in SnapLogic parlance. So now what I can do is I can take a look, and all of these fields should be available in both. So what we're doing here, just as the title of the snap has been renamed, this is a mapper snap, and we're just going to go ahead and we're going to filter out all of the snaps, all of the fields that either were all null or that I didn't want to use for the purpose of this demo. But you could add or remove as you see fit. So basically this snap becomes one of the second one really, and this becomes the first for where you would move those levers to capture the data that you want. Then we're just doing a sort by column name. We do that because the diff snap expects the data to be sorted so that it can do the diff properly. And this is where we're setting it up by column name and ascending. So this is what diff is expecting. Now, when the diff occurs, we're going to get 4 outputs. We get deletions, insertions, modified, and unmodified. Now, for my table, what I did was I deleted 2 columns, I added 1 column, and I modified 1 column by reducing the character size limit from 8,000 to 7,000. So we'll go through each of these and see that that's what we see. And then the other thing I want to talk about is this copy snap. What this is doing is taking the original schema, and it's going to take it, you'll see here this number 108, and it pipes it through over here to this where we're going to, if I come in here, we're going to prefix original. Now I need that to join with the modified so that we can come in here and map the specific field that changed and what changed. So this is where we're going to be able to tell you that that buffer size changed from 8,000 down to 7,000. So let's take a look here. So on each of these add static fields, all we're doing is we're pulling through the data that I would like to notify via email, and I'm just appending a string here in the status column. And so the same is true for each of these. All right, so now we come into this map modified, and this is the key field. So this is where your logic would be, and you might have more of these if you wanted to do for every field that might have changed. For the purposes of this demonstration, we're just looking at 1. And so what we're basically saying is if the current column size equals the original column size, then we've got a ternary operation here. So if they're equal, we're just going to put output, we're just going to output unchanged, and we're going to tell you the current column size. If they are not the same, we're going to output this, which is basically going to say changed, and then in parentheses, it's going to tell you what the value is now and what the value originally was. So after this, this 128 is coming straight over here, 129 is coming straight over here. For the union snap, we're just bringing all those documents together. We're going to sort by status, and then we're going to send the email. So when we take a look at this email, I have done a HTML table, and this is the template body that I have. And then when you do an HTML table, you need to make sure that you define the table data path. So in this case, it's the root of my JSON output from the Snap upstream. So what does that look like in the end? Here's an example of the email. So we're telling you, new field here, right? 2 deleted and 1 modified. And this is what we can see with that ternary logic. We can see that we can output that it was reduced. So your team doesn't need to go find out what changed. So thank you all for watching, and I hope you have a wonderful day.